Major break in the case of a 7-month-old missing for more than a week now.
Filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was abused, victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries.
Please return him.
In the summer heat of Southern California, Rebecca Haro stood in a parking lot and told a story that would captivate a nation for exactly 8 days. She claimed a stranger had attacked her, stolen her baby, and vanished without a trace.
Gonna get the diaper and somebody said hola, and I didn't see nothing since. I woke up right here on the floor and I didn't see Emmanuel.
But this wasn't a story about a kidnapping. This was a story about a system so broken that it handed a child abuser his next victim. The call came in at approximately 8:30 p.m. A frantic mother, a missing baby, and a story that seemed to check every box for a parent's worst nightmare. Rebecca Haro, 41, stood outside a Big 5 sporting goods store, claiming she'd been attacked while changing her 7-month-old son Emmanuel's diaper in her car. "I was going to get the diaper and somebody said, hola, and I don't remember anything since," she told reporters, a black eye clearly visible. "I woke up here on the floor and I didn't see Emmanuel."
My son, please return him. We just want him back. We won't do anything to you. We just give us our son. Just keep him safe. Don't hurt him. Make sure you feed him. Change him.
The story was heartbreaking. It was urgent. It was exactly what you'd expect from a devastated mother whose baby had been stolen. It was also completely fabricated. But to understand how we got here, how a 7-month-old baby named Emmanuel became the center of a murder investigation, we need to go back. Because this story doesn't start on August 14th in a parking lot in Yucaipa. It starts in 2018, in another town, with another baby, and a judge who would make a decision that prosecutors now say directly led to Emmanuel's death. Jake Mitchell Haro was 25 years old when he first appeared on law enforcement's radar for child abuse. The victim was his daughter from another marriage, a baby just 10 weeks old. The abuse was so severe and prolonged that it left the child permanently bedridden. Think about that for a moment. 10 weeks old, an infant who had barely experienced 2 months of life, and Jake Haro had already inflicted injuries so devastating that they would affect her for the rest of her life. The case dragged through the courts for years, but in 2023, Jake finally pleaded guilty to willful child cruelty. Instead of prison time, which prosecutors had requested, the judge suspended Jake's sentence. Probation, 180 days in jail on a work release program, for years of supervision. Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestron would later say, "If that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today." But Jake Haro walked free, and while his first victim lay permanently bedridden, he was building a new family. By 2025, Jake had found Rebecca. They lived together in Cabazon, a small desert community about an hour east of Los Angeles. To neighbors, they seemed like any other family trying to make it work. Rebecca was the older, more responsible partner. Jake was the father working to support their growing household. They had 2 children together, a 2-year-old toddler and 7-month-old Emmanuel. From the outside, it looked like Jake had turned his life around. Maybe the judge had been right. Maybe people could change. But if you looked closer, really looked, the signs were there. Jake had been convicted again in 2021, this time for being a felon in possession of a handgun. He was supposed to be on probation, supposedly being monitored, theoretically being held accountable. The system was watching Jake Haro, and the system was failing. Because while authorities tracked his probation compliance, while they monitored his check-ins and his court appearances, Emmanuel Haro was being abused. Prosecutors now say the 7-month-old baby had been suffering abuse over time before he finally succumbed to his injuries. 7 months old, the same age Jake's first victim had been when he nearly killed her.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Detective work in the 21st century involves more than just interviewing witnesses and searching for clues. It means diving deep into digital footprints, analyzing surveillance footage, and cross-referencing stories with electronic evidence. And Rebecca and Jake's story wasn't holding up. The The sheriff's department interviewed multiple individuals regarding the case, building a timeline that didn't match what the parents were claiming. Surveillance footage from the area was scrutinized. Digital evidence, text messages, phone records, electronic communications was analyzed. Meanwhile, investigators confronted Rebecca about inconsistencies in her story. Her response? She stopped talking to police entirely. Jake, through his attorney, refused to take a lie detector test until he had legal representation. For parents desperate to find their missing child, this behavior was unusual. On August 18th, search warrants were executed at the family's Cabazon home. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Jake's vehicle was seized as evidence. The search had shifted from rescue to recovery. By August 22nd, investigators had concluded that a kidnapping in Yucaipa did not occur and that Emmanuel was believed to be dead. The arrest footage is stark. Jake and Rebecca Haro, surrounded by law enforcement at their desert home, being taken into custody for the murder of their 7-month-old son. Detectives from the Sheriff's Homicide Detail and Specialized Enforcement Division arrested both parents on suspicion of murder. They were booked into Riverside County Jail without bail. The community that had rallied to help find Emmanuel now watched in horror as his parents were led away in handcuffs.
I have kids of my own. Shame on them. I just feel bad for him every time I think about it.
This really hit home to me because I'm also a mother of 4. So to see that somebody could have felt unloving to a child like that, to me is very unrealistic.
The vigils continued, but they were no longer about hope. They were about grief for a baby who never had a chance. The couple's 2-year-old child was immediately taken into custody by social services, removing them from a situation that investigators now believed had been dangerous all along. The prosecution is now pursuing Evidence Code Section 1109, which allows prosecutors to introduce evidence showing a defendant has committed prior acts of abuse to establish a pattern of behavior. This isn't just about Emmanuel Haro. This is about a system that had multiple chances to protect vulnerable children and failed each time. Jake Haro's pattern was clear. 2018, arrested for child abuse against his infant daughter. 2021, convicted of being a felon in possession of a firearm. 2023, pleaded guilty to willful child cruelty but received only probation. 2024, allegedly violated probation. 2025, Emmanuel dies from what prosecutors say was ongoing abuse. At every step, the system had opportunities to intervene. At every step, the system chose the path of least resistance. District Attorney Mike Hestron didn't mince words. The judge essentially chose to give Jake Haro probation, which he violated, instead of the prison sentence that might have prevented this tragedy. As of this recording, Emmanuel Haro's body has not been found. Investigators continue their search for the 7-month-old's remains while his parents sit in jail awaiting trial. The desert around Cabazon is vast, unforgiving terrain where secrets can be buried deep. But investigators are determined to bring Emmanuel home, to give him the dignity in death that he was denied in his short life. Both parents appeared in court for their arraignment, where they were formally charged with murder. Jake has obtained an attorney. Rebecca has remained largely silent since her arrest. The case that began with a frantic mother's plea for help finding her missing baby has become something much darker. A story about how the people meant to protect Emmanuel, his parents, the courts, the system itself, all failed him. This case isn't just about Emmanuel Haro, though his story is tragic enough on its own. It's about all the children who suffer while adults in positions of power make choices based on convenience rather than safety. Jake Haro's first victim, his daughter from another marriage, remains permanently bedridden as a result of the abuse she suffered as an infant. She will never fully recover from what her father did to her in the first weeks of her life. The couple's 2-year-old child, Emmanuel's sibling, has been removed from the home and placed in protective custody. What they experienced in that house, what they witnessed or endured, may never be fully known. And Emmanuel? Emmanuel never had a chance to grow up, to take his first steps, to say his first words. His life was cut short not by a stranger in a parking lot, but by the people who were supposed to love and protect him most. The hardest truth about this case isn't that monsters exist. We've always known that. The hardest truth is that sometimes the system designed to stop them becomes complicit in their crimes. A judge who prioritized rehabilitation over public safety. A probation system that failed to adequately monitor a convicted child abuser. warning signs that were either missed or ignored. If that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today, District Attorney Hestron said. It's a damning indictment of a system that had the power to prevent this tragedy and chose not to use it. Jake and Rebecca Haro now face murder charges in the death of their son. If convicted, they could spend the rest of their lives in prison. The consequence Jake should have faced years ago for his first victim. But justice for Emmanuel won't bring him back. It won't undo the pain he suffered in his brief life. It won't heal his sister, still bedridden from her father's earlier violence. All it can do is ensure that Jake Haro never has the opportunity to hurt another child. As this case moves through the courts, it's not just Jake and Rebecca Haro who are on trial. It's the system that failed Emmanuel, the decisions that prioritized an abuser's second chance over an infant's safety. I trust our justice system will hold the parents accountable, said San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dykes. But accountability needs to extend beyond the parents who killed their child. It needs to reach the decision-makers who gave a convicted child abuser the freedom to kill again. Emmanuel Haro was 7 months old when he died. In his short life, he knew more pain than any child should ever experience. His story is a reminder that in a world where adults are supposed to protect children, sometimes the greatest monsters are the ones we trust the most. And sometimes the system meant to stop them becomes their greatest ally. The search for Emmanuel's body continues in the California desert. The search for justice, real justice, has only just begun.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow.